I'm 89 years old. I have watched 89 sunrises and worried that each one might be followed by a storm. I have seen 89 springs bloom and wondered when the frost would kill the flowers. I have lived through 89 Christmases and spent each one anxious about what could go wrong instead of grateful for what was going right. I have been given 89 years of life, and I wasted almost every single day looking for reasons to be unhappy instead of finding reasons to be grateful. My name is Walter, and I need to tell you something that took me 9 decades to understand. The world you see depends entirely on what you choose to look for. If you spend your life searching for problems, you will find them everywhere. And in finding them everywhere, you will miss the beauty, the joy, and the magic that exist in the same moments, waiting for someone wise enough to notice them. You think you're being realistic when you expect the worst. You think you're being prepared when you imagine everything that could go wrong. You think you're being smart when you protect yourself from disappointment by never getting your hopes up. That's what I thought for 89 years. That's the lie that cost me a lifetime of happiness, that robbed me of joy, that turned every blessing into a burden and every gift into a worry. I was born in 1935, in the middle of the Great Depression. My father lost his job when I was 3 years old. I watched my parents struggle, watched them worry, watched them expect the worst because the worst kept happening. And I learned, as children do, that life was dangerous, uncertain, full of problems waiting to destroy whatever happiness you might be foolish enough to feel. By the time I was 10 years old, I had developed what my mother called a realistic outlook, and what everyone else called chronic pessimism. When other children were excited about birthday parties, I worried about what could go wrong. When my family planned picnics, I checked the weather forecast and predicted rain. When good things happened, I immediately started looking for the catch, the hidden problem, the disaster that was surely coming. The first hard truth I learned too late. Pessimism feels like wisdom, but it's actually just fear disguised as intelligence. When you spend your life expecting the worst, you're not protecting yourself from disappointment. You're guaranteeing that you'll never fully experience joy because even in your happiest moments, you're already preparing for them to end. I married Ruth in 1958. She was everything I was not. Optimistic, hopeful, excited about the future. Our wedding day was beautiful. Perfect spring weather, flowers blooming everywhere, all our friends and family celebrating with us. And what was I doing? I was worried about the clouds on the horizon, anxious about whether we'd have enough money for our honeymoon, concerned about all the things that could go wrong in our marriage. Ruth tried to get me to enjoy our wedding day. She pointed out how beautiful everything looked, how happy everyone seemed, how perfect the weather was. And I responded by pointing out that the flowers would die, that happiness was temporary, that perfect weather never lasted. I turned our wedding day into a lesson about the impermanence of joy instead of a celebration of love. That became the pattern of our entire relationship. Ruth would find something to be excited about, and I would find something to worry about. She would see beauty, and I would see problems. She would feel grateful, and I would feel anxious. I didn't mean to steal her joy. I thought I was helping her be realistic, preparing her for disappointment, protecting her from the inevitable letdowns that life would bring. The second hard truth: when you see problems in every blessing, you teach other people to see problems too. When you respond to joy with worry, you train the people around you to hide their happiness from you. When you meet every celebration with caution, you become someone people stop celebrating with. Ruth and I had 3 children. Sarah was born in 1959, Michael in 1961, Emma in 1963. 3 healthy, beautiful babies, and I worried about all of them constantly. Not the normal parental concern about keeping them safe, but obsessive anxiety about everything that could possibly go wrong in their lives. I worried about their health when they were perfectly healthy. I worried about their future when they were just learning to walk. I worried about their happiness when they were laughing and playing. When Sarah took her first steps, I worried about her falling. When Michael started talking, I worried about speech problems. When Emma began school, I worried about her struggling academically. I turned every milestone into a source of anxiety instead of a reason for celebration. My children learned that Daddy was the person who found problems in every achievement, who saw danger in every adventure, who met their excitement with warnings about what could go wrong. By the time they were teenagers, my children had learned to share their good news with their mother and their problems with no one. They knew that telling Daddy about something exciting meant listening to a lecture about why they shouldn't get their hopes up. They knew that sharing their dreams with me meant hearing about all the reasons those dreams wouldn't come true. The third hard truth: children learn how to see the world by watching their parents. If you see problems everywhere, your children will learn to see problems everywhere. If you respond to good news with worry, your children will learn that good news is something to be afraid of. If you cannot celebrate their joy, you teach them that joy is dangerous. I spent 40 years working for the same insurance company, and I was good at my job precisely because I was so negative. Insurance is about predicting what can go wrong, calculating risks, preparing for disasters. My natural pessimism made me excellent at anticipating problems, identifying potential issues, protecting the company from claims. But my success at work reinforced my belief that negativity was a virtue, that seeing problems was wisdom. I became proud of my ability to predict disasters, to spot flaws in plans. I thought my negativity made me valuable, insightful, indispensable. What I didn't realize was that my chronic pessimism was making me unbearable to live with. Every family vacation became an exercise in worry management. Every celebration became a discussion of potential problems. Every good day became an opportunity to prepare for the bad days that were surely coming. The fourth hard truth: being right about problems doesn't make you wise. Being able to predict difficulties doesn't make you valuable as a person. You can be accurate about everything that could go wrong and completely wrong about what makes life worth living. Ruth tried for decades to help me see the good in situations, to appreciate beautiful moments, to enjoy experiences without immediately jumping to worst-case scenarios. She would point out stunning sunsets, and I would mention that red skies often meant storms were coming. She would celebrate our children's achievements, and I would worry about them becoming overconfident. She would suggest spontaneous adventures, and I would list all the reasons why they were impractical. By 1985, after 27 years of marriage, Ruth told me that living with me was like living under a gray cloud that followed us everywhere. She said she felt like she needed permission to be happy, like every moment of joy had to be justified against my constant predictions of doom. She said she was tired of having to defend good news, tired of celebrating quietly so she wouldn't trigger my anxiety, tired of pretending that life was as dangerous and joyless as I believed it to be. Ruth didn't leave me, but she stopped sharing her happiness with me. She found joy in other relationships, celebrated good news with friends who could appreciate it, planned activities with people who wouldn't spend the entire time worrying about what might go wrong. I became the person in her life she tolerated rather than the person she turned to for support and companionship. The fifth hard truth: when you cannot celebrate other people's joy, they stop sharing their joy with you. When you meet every happy moment with worry, people learn to be happy without you. When you see problems in every blessing, you become someone people avoid when they want to feel blessed. My children grew up and moved away, and they didn't visit often. When they did come home, conversations were stilted, careful, brief. They had learned as children that sharing excitement with me meant having that excitement diminished. They had learned that telling me about good things in their lives meant listening to warnings about how those good things could turn bad. Sarah got married in 1984, a beautiful wedding with a man who clearly adored her. At the reception, while everyone else was celebrating, I was worried about the statistics on divorce rates. When Michael got promoted at work in 1989, while Ruth was proud and excited, I was concerned about the increased stress and responsibility. When Emma had her first baby in 1991, while the family was overjoyed, I was anxious about all the dangers of parenthood. I had trained my children to expect negativity from me, so they shared their joy with other people and their worries with no one. I had become the family member they felt obligated to update, but not excited to celebrate with. I was present for their lives, but absent from their happiness. The sixth hard truth: you cannot love people fully if you cannot celebrate their happiness. You cannot be close to people if you meet their joy with anxiety. When you see problems in every good thing that happens to people you love, you teach them that your love comes with the price of diminished joy. Ruth died in 2010 after 52 years of marriage. She had lived with my chronic negativity for more than 5 decades, and in her final years, she stopped pretending that it didn't bother her. She told me that she regretted not traveling more because I always found reasons why trips were impractical. She regretted not celebrating more because I always found reasons why celebrations were premature. She regretted not being more spontaneous because I always found reasons why spontaneity was dangerous. On her deathbed, Ruth told me that she had loved me despite my negativity, not because of it. She said she had spent 52 years trying to show me the beauty in life, and 52 years watching me look for problems instead. She said her greatest regret was not being able to help me see what she saw, a world full of wonder, beauty, love, and reasons to be grateful. After Ruth died, I was alone with my pessimism for the first time in decades. Without her optimism to balance my negativity, without her joy to contrast my worry, I realized how dark and joyless my world had become. I lived in a house where I had spent 50 years expecting the worst, and now I was surrounded by the emptiness that constant worry creates. The seventh hard truth: chronic negativity is not realistic. It's a choice. You can choose to see problems, or you can choose to see possibilities. You can choose to focus on what's wrong, or you can choose to focus on what's right. The world contains both good and bad, beauty and ugliness, reasons to worry and reasons to celebrate. What you see depends entirely on what you choose to look for. At 81 years old, I decided to try something I had never tried in my entire life, looking for good things instead of bad things. It was the hardest thing I had ever attempted. My brain had been trained for 8 decades to spot problems, identify risks, anticipate disasters, trying to notice beauty, appreciate blessings, find reasons for gratitude felt completely foreign, like learning a new language at an age when most people's minds are set in stone. But I started small. Instead of checking the weather forecast to worry about storms, I looked outside to appreciate whatever weather was actually happening. Instead of reading the news to confirm that the world was falling apart, I limited my news consumption and paid attention to the good things happening in my immediate environment. Instead of anticipating everything that could go wrong with my health, I tried to be grateful for everything that was still working correctly. The change was gradual, almost imperceptible at first. But slowly, I began to notice things I had ignored for decades. The way sunlight looked when it came through my kitchen window in the morning, the sound of children playing in the neighborhood park, the kindness of the grocery store clerk who always asked about my day, the beauty of flowers that I had spent 80 years expecting to wilt instead of appreciating while they bloomed. The eighth hard truth: it's never too late to learn to see beauty, but the longer you wait, the less time you have to enjoy what you finally learn to see. You can change your perspective at any age, but you cannot reclaim the years you spent looking in the wrong direction. My children were surprised by the change in me, but they were also cautious. They had spent their entire lives having their joy diminished by my negativity, and they were not quick to trust that their father had really learned to celebrate instead of worry. It took years for them to believe that I could hear good news without immediately looking for problems, that I could appreciate their happiness without warning them about its fragility. Sarah started calling me more often when she realized I could listen to her excitement about her children's achievements without lecturing her about the dangers of overconfidence. Michael began sharing his travel plans when he discovered I could be happy for his adventures without cataloging everything that could go wrong. Emma started including me in family celebrations when she saw that I could enjoy the moment without predicting its end. But the relationships had been damaged by decades of negativity, and rebuilding trust took time. My children loved me, but they had learned to protect their joy from me, and unlearning that protection required patience from all of us. The ninth hard truth: you can change how you see the world, but you cannot undo the years when you saw it wrong. You can learn to celebrate other people's happiness, but you cannot erase the memory of years when you diminished it. People can forgive chronic negativity, but they remember how it felt to have their joy questioned constantly. I'm 89 years old now. I have maybe 5 more years, maybe less, maybe a little more. And I'm spending these final years trying to see the beauty I missed in the previous 84. I sit on my porch and watch sunsets without worrying about the darkness that follows. I listen to birds sing without anticipating the winter that will silence them. I appreciate the changing seasons without dreading their inevitable end. But I also think about all the beauty I missed, all the joy I failed to appreciate, all the wonderful moments I turned into opportunities for worry. I think about Ruth's excitement that I met with caution, my children's achievements that I responded to with anxiety. Decades of sunrises that I watched while expecting storms. I see my neighbor across the street, a woman about my age who tends her garden every morning with obvious pleasure. She waters her flowers, deadheads her roses, talks to her plants as if they were beloved friends. When people compliment her garden, she beams with pride instead of worrying about drought or disease or the frost that will eventually kill everything she has grown. She has the same flowers I have, the same weather I have, the same aging body I have. The difference is that she has spent her life looking for reasons to be happy. And I spent my life looking for reasons to be worried. She sees beauty where I saw problems. She finds joy where I found anxiety. She celebrates what is while I always focused on what could go wrong. I realize now that happiness is not about having a perfect life. Happiness is about having the wisdom to appreciate an imperfect life. Beauty is not about living in a world without problems. Beauty is about having the vision to see wonder even in a world full of problems. The final hard truth: you have a choice every single day about what to look for in your life. You can look for problems or you can look for blessings. You can focus on what's wrong or you can focus on what's right. You can see reasons to worry or you can see reasons to celebrate. The world you experience is the world you choose to see. Don't make my mistake. Don't spend your life searching for problems and missing beauty. Don't waste decades worrying about storms and ignore the sunshine. Don't let chronic negativity steal your joy or poison your relationships. Look for reasons to be grateful. Notice beauty in ordinary moments. Appreciate what you have while you have it. Celebrate good news without immediately looking for bad news. See possibilities instead of problems. Choose hope over fear, joy over anxiety, gratitude over worry. The world is full of both darkness and light, problems and blessings, reasons to worry and reasons to celebrate. You get to choose which ones you see, which ones you focus on, which ones shape your experience of being alive. I'm tired now, tired of remembering all the beauty I missed while looking for problems. But I'm also grateful that I finally learned to see what Ruth saw, what my children needed me to see, what was always there waiting for me to notice. Don't wait until you're 89 to start looking for beauty. It's there right now, waiting for you.